I am 97 years old, and I want you to stop whatever you are doing right now, because what I am about to tell you, nobody ever told me, and I spent 9 decades learning it the hard way. When people find out my age, they always say the same thing. That is incredible. You must have lived such a full life. And I smile, because what else do you say? The truth is harder to hear. The truth is, living this long isn't just a blessing. It is a weight, a slow, quiet accumulation of everything you've lost along the way. And if no one tells you that early enough, you'll spend the best years of your life building things that quietly disappear. I am telling you now, while you still have time to do something about it. When you are young, you are terrified of dying. I remember that fear, the way it would sit in your chest sometimes, late at night. The idea that one day all of this would just stop. But here is what no one warns you about. The real fear isn't dying too soon. The real fear is living too long without living well. Because a long life and a meaningful life are not the same thing. They never were. You can be 97 years old and look back at decades of doing exactly what you were supposed to do and still feel like you missed the point entirely. That thought used to keep me up at night. Now I've made peace with it. But I want you to hear it early enough that it changes something for you, because that is the only reason left I have to talk. Let me take you back to when I was 25, because that is where it all starts. At 25, I was strong. Not just physically, though I was that too. I mean strong in the way that only young people are. Confident. Unaware of how much I didn't know. I had a job, a real one. The kind people respected back then. I had a young family, just getting started. Friends who showed up when it mattered. And I remember thinking, this is enough. This is what life is supposed to feel like. I wasn't chasing fame or wealth or anything extraordinary. I just wanted stability, a simple, solid life. And honestly, I got it. I built it exactly the way you were supposed to. Steady career, a house, a routine that made the weeks feel predictable. I thought predictability was the goal. I thought if you just stayed consistent, if you just kept showing up, everything would hold together. But here is what I didn't understand at 25. Consistency protects you from chaos. It doesn't protect you from time, and time doesn't care how reliable you are. It takes things from you whether you earned them or not. At 25, I had no idea how much I would one day lose. Not in one moment. Not in one disaster. But slowly, quietly, over decades, here is something they don't put in the self-help books. The most painful kind of loss isn't sudden. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come with a moment you can point to and say, that is when everything changed. The most painful kind of loss is gradual. It is a phone call that becomes less frequent, then less frequent again. Then one day you realize you can't remember the last time you heard that voice, and you don't know exactly when it stopped. That is what happened to me. By the time I was in my late 60s, my world had already started shrinking, not in ways I noticed at first, just people moving on, getting busy, getting older themselves, drifting in the way that life makes you drift. Then came the funerals, one at first, then 2 in the same year. Then more than I could keep track of. People I had grown up with, people who knew me before I was anything, people who remembered the man I used to be. And when you lose someone who knew you in your youth, you don't just lose them, you lose that version of yourself too. Because part of who we are only exists in the memory of others. When those people are gone, that part of you goes with them. I remember turning 80 and realizing there was almost no one left who knew me before I was old. No one who could say, I remember when you were young and foolish and full of it. No one who had that shared history. And that silence is a loneliness that nothing prepares you for. Not books, not religion, not family. Because even the people who love you most, they love the version of you that they know. They don't know. The one you've been carrying all this time. Now, let me tell you about the day everyone congratulated me. The day I retired, people shook my hand. They brought a cake. Someone gave a little speech. And everyone said the same thing. Now you can finally rest. You've earned it. I believed them for a while. But within a few months, something started happening that I couldn't name at first. I woke up one morning and had nowhere to be. No one waiting for me. No problem to solve. No reason to get dressed by any particular time. And I thought, this should feel like freedom. It didn't. It felt like something had been quietly removed from inside of me. See, nobody tells you this. Your work isn't just a paycheck. It is an identity. It is structure. It is purpose. It is the answer to a question you get asked your whole life. What do you do? And when that answer disappears, you spend a long time not knowing how to answer who you are. I tried to stay busy. I read. I gardened. I watched more television than I care to admit. And people would visit. And people would visit for a while. But eventually, even those visits became something people fit in when they could. Not because they didn't care. Because life doesn't stop for anyone, not even for you. And slowly, the days started to feel like copies of each other. The same routine, the same silence, the same hours that somehow became both too long and too short. I don't say this to make retirement sound like a tragedy. I say it because I wish someone had told me, don't wait until you stop working to figure out who you are. Build that answer before it is taken from you. Because the people who age well, I've watched them. I've known a few. They don't age well because they're lucky. They age well because they never let go of their sense of purpose. They kept building, kept connecting, kept showing up for something. I stopped, and I paid for it in years of silence I couldn't fill. By the time I was in my late 80s, my body had started making decisions for me. Not all at once. That is not how it works. First, it is the knees, then the stairs. Then the distances you can walk start getting shorter without you realizing it. Then one day you look up and the world you used to move through freely has walls around it. And the cruelest part of it all, your mind still remembers. It remembers what it felt like to be strong, to be fast, to be capable. And there is a grief in that, a quiet, private grief that you can't really explain to someone who hasn't felt it yet. People see an old man sitting still. They don't see what is happening inside. They don't see the man who used to run, who used to carry things, who used to feel like nothing could stop him. That man is still in there, watching. I don't say this to frighten you. I say it because if you are young enough to be listening to this, your body is a gift, not because it looks good, because it lets you move through life. And most people don't understand that until the movement starts to go. Don't wait that long to appreciate it. Here's the thing no one talks about. At some point, you stop being seen. Not because people are cruel, just because the world runs on the energy of the young. And when you no longer have that energy to offer, you become background. People stop asking for your opinion the way they used to. Not on purpose, not with any malice. They just stop, and you sit there with a head full of experience, decades of mistakes and lessons in hard-won understanding. And no one thinks to ask. I remember sitting at family dinners in my 90s, watching everyone talk, watching the room run on its own energy, and feeling like a visitor in a house I had helped build. That feeling of being present, but invisible, is something I wouldn't wish on anyone. But I also understand now that it is part of the contract no one signs. You live long enough, and eventually The world moves on without you. Not in hatred, just in momentum. And you have to find a way to be at peace with that. I am still working on it. At 97, I am not afraid of death, not anymore. That fear left me somewhere in my 80s. What I feel now is something closer to readiness. A tiredness that isn't sad, just complete. Because I've seen enough. I felt enough. And I've had long enough to understand what I missed. The regrets I carry aren't dramatic. They're quiet ones. The conversations I didn't have. The people I let drift because I thought there was more time. The risks I didn't take because I was protecting a stability that didn't protect me back. I spent so many years choosing safe, choosing expected, choosing comfortable. And comfort is not a bad thing. But if it is the only thing you choose, you end up with a life that was never quite fully yours. If I could go back, I wouldn't try to live longer. I would try to live differently. I would take more risks before I knew the odds. I would tell people what they meant to me before I lost the chance. I would build relationships like they were the only asset that mattered. Because in the end, they are. I would stop waiting for a better moment because the moments you let pass don't come back. That is not a line. That is just the truth of it. And I wish someone had looked me in the eye when I was your age and said it plainly. I've lived 97 years, most of them, well, some of them wasted. And I am not here to tell you I have all the answers. I am just here to tell you, you have something I would give almost anything to have again. Time, real time. Time to change direction. Time to rebuild what is broken. Time to say the things you keep putting off. Don't let it become a memory while you are still standing in it. That is the one thing I know for certain. The only thing that stays is what you did with the people you loved. Everything else fades. Everything else. Don't wait.